Hi friends, welcome to the another episode of ThinkerViews podcast in which we talk about various stuff, but we have started just with book reviews. In the same segment today we are going to talk about another book. The book name is ILU Chalne Wali Chidiya, written by Kamal Upadhyay. It is a self-published book and available only on Kindle platform. We know Kamal Upadhyay since a long now. We came to know about him through his book Lankapati Ka Loktantra, which we found on Juggernaut Books, and we found it a very humorous and satirical book on current political system. Since then, we have reviewed a lot of books by Kamal, including Hatya, which is a thriller. We have then reviewed his another book, which was meant for kids, Ilu, and this book is prequel of that book. So without wasting time, let us talk about Ilu Chalne Wali Chidiya. As the book is a Hindi book, the podcast would be in Hindi and English mix. While it feels little odd to talk about a Hindi book in English language, but since the ThinkerViews is primarily an English platform, but that doesn't stop us from reading Hindi books and talk about them when we find them worth talking about. Okay, so let us talk about the book. We consider that parenting is a blissful responsibility. When raising your kid or kids, you get a chance to live your childhood again. While you enjoy seeing kids making a little progress and even be proud of him or her or them, you also feel that there is a need to implant the values, morals, ethics, wisdom, and a lot of other things that you have gained through the experiences throughout the years of your life. Well, Panchatantra has affirmed the fact that there is no better way to convey a message than through an interesting story. And probably that's why there is a technical term that came to existence, edutainment. It is a combination of education and entertainment. Kids literature is a genre in its own. Very few authors explore this genre, especially in Indian languages. That is one of the reasons we are always curious to find a book in this genre that is worth reading and sharing our reviews for. So without any delay, let us talk about this book, Ilu Chalne Wali Chidiya. Let us talk about the cover page first, because it is kind of a gateway to the fictional world or virtual world explored within the pages of the book. It makes the first impression of the book, and that's why it is often responsible for a lot of purchase and or selling decisions. It is a well illustrated cover page with the right choice of colors. It is really attractive cover page. You can see a sparrow holding the trophy she won. Yes, she is Ilu. She is the protagonist of the story. If you have a flair of looking at details, you will notice there is a bandage in the right leg of Ilu. It is significant. It is a part of the story. Without knowing the story also, you can guess that she earned it through really hard work. The stone she stands on shows that she won the competition and earned the first place. In the background you see a natural landscape full of greenery and mountains. And yes, the famous helicopter of Marlowe also makes an appearance here. I like the cover page. Not only the kids but adults also will like the cover page and will be attracted towards the book. And even more important is the fact that the cover page remains faithful to the story as well. Now let us take a bird's eye view of the story. Ilu is a very young sparrow. She lives with her father Chino, who loves her more than anything in the world. Tinu, her mother, is missing since a while now. Chino has two missions on hand: raising his daughter Ilu properly and search for the truth about missing of Tinu. Ilu is still growing up, and for her own safety, Chino strictly prevents her from attempting to fly. Of course, there is a fear behind it. He don't want to lose Ilu like he lost Tinu. In fact, he himself has stopped flying in front of her. He gets his cheat flying sessions like we have cheat meals. He gets his cheat flying sessions when Ilu is at her school. We find all kind of characters around us, and so does Ilu. While she has a best friend at school and some good teachers, some caring staff members of the school, there is a wealthy, spoilt brat also who loves to show off. One day, after dropping Ilu to school, Chino went for his routine. Eventually, he got into a trouble. Unknown to this development, Ilu waited for her father at the school door, who instructed her not to leave until he come to pick her up. At last, when it started getting dark, she gathers the courage and started walking towards her home because she cannot fly. Ilu is a चलने वाली चिड़िया. Will she be able to reach her home alone? It was her first solo trip. Or will she be caught into tricky situations? If something happens to her, who will help her? The jungle is not a safe place in night, as owls, foxes, and other shady characters lurk during those times. And what about the competition? Well, all these questions are better get answered by reading this short ebook. As said earlier, this book perfectly falls in the edutainment arena. Through the fictional world of birds and animals, the author has created a small replica of the society. The behavior of them will remind you of that of the humans. The author Kamal Upadhyay is good at exploring emotions, and you can see that the author has shared some of his, or say each father's emotions quite well in this book. The same we can say for all the relationships explored in this book, be it a father-daughter relationship, teacher-student relationship, friendship, or anything else. Let me give you an example from the book. इलू अपने बिस्तर से उठी, चीनो की तरफ देखा और अपने पंखों को फैलाते हुए कहा, पापा मैं आपसे बहुत प्यार करती हूँ. मैं भी आपसे बहुत प्यार करता हूँ बिटिया, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं कि मैं आपको स्कूल जाने के लिए सुबह ना उठाऊं. This will remind you of the similar conversation we found in almost every household, where in the morning parents are trying to wake up their children to go to school and they are feeling sleepy and they want still to cuddle in the bed to get its warmth. It is a kind of emotional battle for the parents also. On one end, they want their children to get rest and get the comfort and warmth of the bed. At the same time, they know the importance of going to the school and getting educated and being ready for the real world. So as a parent, while you love your kids, you have to guide them to do the right things also. These lines indicates the best way to convert the conflict into the conversation full of reality and emotions. Like in his other works, Kamal comes with some linguistically beautiful lines in this book as well. For example, घर में एक तरफ मोमबत्ती जल रही थी. अंधेरा इतना था कि मोमबत्ती का गुमान सूरज से भी कम नहीं था. What a beautiful word play. अंधेरा इतना था कि मोमबत्ती का गुमान सूरज से भी कम नहीं था. Wow. By the way, those who know Kamal know that he is really good at satire. He has reactivated his passion recently and started sharing some of his satire articles, and you will find some such interesting lines in this book as well. For example, अरे मनुष्य इस तरफ आते रहते, किसी मनुष्य ने छीन लिया होगा. सही कहा, मनुष्य ना हुआ मतदाता हो गया, हर कोई डराने चला आता है. Let me share an interesting conversation where Marlowe talks about his just repaired helicopter. बस हो गया, उड़ने के लिए तैयार है लेकिन चीनी माल की तरह. चल गया तो चांद तक, नहीं तो शाम तक की भी गारंटी नहीं है. And the author spreads a very important message that is even more relevant when 14th January is approaching. Let me give you a background. This review is shared on 10th January, that is officially celebrated as World Hindi Day or विश्व हिंदी दिवस. हे भगवान, इन मनुष्यों को सद्बुद्धि दे. अपने आनंद के लिए पतंग उड़ाते हैं और उसका धागा हम पक्षियों की गर्दन काटने के लिए छोड़ जाते हैं. This is an indirect yet very efficient way to teach the children to take care of other species and implanting the roots of the theory of coexistence and remind them that the world is not only for us human beings. In this world, birds, plants, animals, trees, and lot of other species lives with us. Let me share some of the interesting lines I found in the book. This line is spoken by ILU. उड़ने तो तब आएगा ना पिन्नी जब मेरा पापा मुझे उड़ने देंगे। वाह बिटिया, वाह बिटिया, आजकल स्पाइडरमैन के अलावा पढ़ाई में भी ध्यान दे रही हो। बहुत खूब। इल्लू लगभग अपने घर की तरफ पहुंच चुकी थी कि तभी उसे उल्लू की आवाज उसे सुनाई दी। उसका शक अब यकीन में बदल गया कि उल्लू उसे चकमा देकर उसकी बस्ती तक पहुंचना चाहता है। Now, in all these 4 lines, you may have noticed some of the errors while I was speaking, like जब मेरा पापा मुझे उड़ने देंगे, स्पाइडरमैन का अलावा, और तभी उसे उल्लू की आवाज उसे सुनाई दी, उसका शक. These are the small proofreading errors that could have been taken care of to make the book even better. This is a comparatively bigger story than the first installment of ILU, especially in terms of incidents. Also, the author has infused a mystery element on which he might be planning his next book in the series. While you will find it interesting to read about Marlowe and his helicopter, the owl sequence will give you an idea about the way of living. It makes it easy for kids to understand some of the realities of the world. This book has many characters and the author has given them the exposure they require. It is not an easy task to maintain this balance, but in this book, it seems to be done naturally. When visiting the journey of Ilu, Chino, Capillo, Marlowe, Tinu, Pinni, Kitto, Miss Picaco, Sippo and others, you will feel exploring the journey of human beings. They are very convincing characters, and so do the incidents in the book. These characters are very convincingly elaborated, and so does the incidents in the book. The day-to-day struggle, the joy of small achievements, worry for the loved ones, feeling low and high emotionally. All these feelings we experience in routine in our real life are elaborated through these fictional characters pretty effectively. The book, without preaching, conveys the message that conquering odds with the determination is the way to live. And according to me, this is the biggest takeaway from the book. Well, based on the reader's mindset to compare the number of pages against the price, it may be considered a little costly by some of the readers. So, what is the summary? Well, I found it a very interesting read. It is like reading a Panchatantra story set up in the modern days. ThinkerViews rating would be around 7.5 stars out of 10. So, what do you think about this book? What do you think about this review? Please do share your thoughts via comments below. And thank you for listening to this podcast. Please feel free to suggest us any book you want us to read and review for you, and we will definitely consider it positively. Thank you again, and bye bye till we meet in the next podcast.